today's video, I'm going to talk about kind of a interesting topic as I was really curious about the player retention for this league. And I just wanted to give my thoughts about what I've been thinking about this league and how I've been enjoying this league. I have been enjoying this league a lot. It is really fun doing the Scourge content, but I just want to take a look at some numbers about how good the retention is in Scourge League compared to Expedition League, because everyone knows that Expedition League was probably one of the worst performing leagues in terms of player retention. And I think the results might surprise a lot of people. I do know that the sentiment on Reddit is kind of negative. Now, another thing I wanted to go over before we went into that is why you should use this program called Exilence. Now, what Exilence does is it pretty much calculates what your tabs show you and how much chaos and exalts you have in your tabs by pretty much converting everything from PoE Ninja into chaos value. So you can see exactly here by using this tool what you have left to sell. Now, I know a lot of beginners always say they don't have any currency, but sometimes you might have a lot more currency than you expect. For instance, I have 129 exalts peer right now, but according to Excellence, just through my 3 tabs, I actually have 277 exalts, which is a pretty insane amount, right? Considering I only have 129x. So where is that 170x or 150x coming from? And I'm going to show you how you can use Excellence to find out how much currency you actually have. Now, before we get started, a lot of people always ask me, how do you craft this claw? And I do know it's a pretty hot topic because this claw looks pretty insane. But we're going to try to craft it. I'm going to go over each step and what you can do. So first things first, let's scour it completely. So what we have here is an Essence Attack Speed Claw. So the way that we get this claw is we use the highest level of Zeal Essence, which is the deafening essence of Zeal. And what this gives us is 30%, so you want to make sure you divide it to 30%. And next, we will probably need to go to TFT Discord, and this is if you want to craft the claw from scratch. Now, what you need to do is you need to go buy a Harvest Craft for Fracture Suffixes, and this is under Harvest Want to Sell. So once you're in this channel, you can Control F Fracture. And let's see what we find. So you can see Fracture Suffix payment up front. Now people ask for payment up front because they're afraid that people might scam them. So you can see here Fracture Suffix 1 out of 3, 9x. Fracture Suffix 1 out of 5. So roughly you can think of 1 out of 5, 4x is 20x expected value. And 1 out of 3 Suffix is 27x expected value. I think people actually sell this base for 35x. So you just have to come up with what level of risk you want to take, because a more guaranteed result will end up costing more. So now we get this. Now we have to see what can we actually do. So let's re-go and make it a, what's it called, a rare item, so we can use essences on it. So now the main essence we want to use is the fire essence. Now the reason we want to use the fire essence, in this case, this claw is essence fire, is because the fire essence allows us to go for T1 cold damage, and T1 cold damage is actually a lot higher than essence cold damage. It's not a lot higher, but it is definitely high enough that we want to use the best essence to have the T1 cold roll if possible. So now this could take a very long time. I don't really know if I actually want to click through all of this for the sake of this video, but according to Craft of Exile, I think it was around, it is a good chunk of essences though. It was like 100 essence to hit a T2 cold roll or something. I think it's 300 or so essences to hit a T1 cold roll. Now a lot of times you can probably just stop on T2 flat lightning or T2 flat cold. I highly recommend you go for the cold damage, as it ends up being a lot better. So a lot of these essences are getting pretty expensive, which is why I highly recommend doing essences for farming. As when people buy them in bulk, for instance, to craft this claw, it is a very expensive ordeal if you go through a lot of them. So ideally what we're looking for is T1 cold or T2 cold with an open prefix, so we can use the ashling on it. So we just can't hit it. Again, Craft of Exile says it is around 1 in 160. I don't really know if I can cheat and add on the mod, but maybe we get tired of rolling it, right? Let's just say we get it soon. Though we don't really, still haven't gotten it. So let's just say we got it, because I can't be CBA to roll through it. You don't want to see me roll through all of it, right? So let's say you got T1 cold damage and you had this open suffix, because this happens a lot. People end up getting it And wait, this is just the crafted mod. Oh wait, whoops, we need to get rid of that. Mod pool, T1 cold damage. So you can see here the T1 cold damage ends up being, T1 cold damage is 97 to 169. The T1 cold damage ends up being a lot higher than the essence damage. Because the essence damage, let's see, I'm not really sure what the essence cold damage is. Let's check it out real fast. So the top end is 174, and you can see here the top end of the essence cold damage is 158. So let's just say we got this after spamming a lot of essences, and we can see here, so just so you guys know what you should be looking at when you try to craft a claw, and how many essences it actually takes. You can see here, in order to get T1 cold damage with the essence, so here we're using anger essence, and then we want T1 cold damage. You could expect to spend around 390 anger essences, which is around 780 chaos orbs. And this is probably on the low end because you probably will have to spend a lot more to buy this in bulk. But if you settle for T2, which is perfectly fine, you can see it costs around roughly little over an Exalt to get this roll, 80 anger essences. So let's just say we got this, and now you're wondering, you have an open prefix and you have some suffixes, what do you end up doing? So what you want to do is you want to craft on prefixes cannot be changed. Now this is just how most crafting is nowadays. Prefixes cannot be changed. Oh wait, what even happened to it? I think I messed up. Did I even put it on? Oh wait, so you want to put on prefixes cannot be changed. Item generation cannot change prefixes. Well, that's very sad, right? Because we are unable to do it. So when you copy and paste an item into Craft of Exile, you actually cannot do prefixes cannot be changed. So we need to start this over from scratch. So let's see here. So let's do this over from scratch, and maybe we can do the fracture step so you guys can understand how this goes. So let's see, 30 quality, let's say. So is there a fracture on this thing? So let's say we use the essence of zeal. We start off. So you need to use the deafening essence of zeal. And you should usually just do it until you get 30%. So now you can't really do this because you have 1 out of 3. So you need 3 suffixes. So you pretty much just do it until you get 30%. Or you can try to divine it if you really wanted to. But I would just prefer to do it like this. So now you want to get the harvest craft. And I don't even know if fracture exists on here, right? Is there even fracture on this thing? Okay, so I figured out how to fracture the item. But basically, you kind of just have to manually do it. But let's just say we fracture it. And we spend some essences right here. So we're using the anger essence until we get T1 cold. And try doing this for a little bit. But after a little bit, I'm probably going to cheat and use the item creator to get T1 cold. Because we can't spend all day doing this, right? But basically, let's just say we add the T1 cold. So roughly it takes around, I think, what do we say? Like 80 for T2 and 390 for T1. So it could take quite a while, and I don't really want to just be spamming the essences completely. But let's say we get added cold damage here. So T1, so like right now we have a predicament, right? So we have 2 prefixes or 3 prefixes, and we want to get pen on it. So what we need to do is we need to find a way to remove the mana. So what we can do is you can try to annul, or you can remove prefix. Right now, I think annul is probably the easiest step. So if you hit it, nice, we got it. So ideally, hopefully you get lucky and you don't have to take this annul. But if you hit the annul, that's good, right? So now you want to craft on prefixes cannot be changed. So prefixes cannot be changed, and now we want to use a veiled chaos orb. So there's a couple ways of doing it. You could technically scour it down so that there's no suffixes, and multi-mod with prefixes cannot be changed. As you can see here is a chance to not get it. So this one here, the item will be completed, right? But let's just say you were kind of scared because you don't really know what you want to do. So let's remove this mod. So what you can do is prefixes cannot be changed, and then multi-mod. Prefixes cannot be changed. And then you want to craft on a random prefix so that it can't roll it. And this is pretty important. So let's just say you can pretty much put on anything. So let's do it like this. So now when we do the Veil Chaos Orb, we're guaranteed to get, oh wait, I think hits can't be evaded is a, there we go. Can we do it like this? Oh wait, maybe not. We need to do some random mod. Then we can do it. Locking a veil / crafted affix to use a veil chaos orb is not allowed. A veil / crafted affix. I don't really know about that, right? Can you actually not do this? There's no way. You cannot generate locking a veil / crafted affix to use a veil. Okay, so maybe with this method you have to do ashling. Maybe I just never really have done it this way. So if you do ashling here, you're guaranteed a suffix. So now you're guaranteed a veil suffix. That's gonna be kind of good. So it's, theoretically you could get this. And now what you will want to do is craft on pen. So where's the pen mod? So this is a more cheap way of doing it that makes it a little bit more guaranteed. So here we want to get rid of the crafted mod. And then get rid of the mana craft on it. So then we can end up with pen. But this method pretty much makes it so that you're guaranteed to have a veiled suffix, and then at this point you will just randomly exalt it, and then let's see what you get. So you got some crit multi, which is not terrible. I think there's another way of doing this craft, which is you could just multi-mod it from this point. So you could pretty much scour it down with prefixes cannot be changed, scour it, and then you could literally just go multi-mod, and you can do prefixes, the pen, and then you could just craft on like multi or something. A big fan, one of the crafts that I really like currently is crit chance, and it has some strength and int on it, and it's actually a pretty good craft because it fixes our strength and int problems. I don't know if it shows up on this new craft of exile as a new mod that's recently added. Another good one you could do is you could do chance to deal double damage, and that's not too bad, or you can just craft on crit multi. But this makes a worse claw. So the way you want to gamble it, if you want to make the best claw possible, is you want to craft on prefixes cannot be changed while you have an open prefix. And what this does is that when you use the veiled chaos orb, you will have a 50-50 to either get a veiled prefix or veiled suffix. Now ideally you want to get a veiled prefix, and from here on is a 50% chance to get this mod. So this mod would guarantee you something really good. And at this point you have the prefixes finished, and then all you have to do is you want to do prefixes cannot be changed again, and then you want to reforge crit more likely. Now reforge crit more likely will make it so that you can get crit multi guaranteed. So you can also do that, but then pretty much you can do this until you get T1 crit multi. So it's not too hard to get a perfect claw, and then once you get T1 crit multi, you uncraft this, and then you could either craft on double damage, you can craft on crit chance and strength and int, which is what I prefer crafting on at the moment. So voila, there you go. There you pretty much have a perfect claw. Now this crit multi roll could take quite a while, because you can see here what is actually crit. There's 6 rolls of crit multi and there's 6 rolls of crit chance, so it's a 1 out of 12 to get crit multi T1. But you don't really need T1 crit multi, you can settle with T2. But that's pretty much how you craft the perfect claw. Now, do I recommend crafting this claw? If you don't have a lot of money and you don't like gambling, sometimes it's probably better to just buy a pre-crafted version of this. I would say if it's like 60, 70x, it's probably worth it. Getting the T1 fire or T1 cold with the T1 essence fire damage could take a lot, and you have to do some annuls. And then you can further brick it again when you go for the Veiled Chaos Orb with prefixes cannot be changed. So highly recommend you make this claw. It's a huge DPS boost compared to most rare claws that you'll find, and it's actually not that impossible to make compared to some other items. So next we have a program called Exilence Next. It's kind of funny, it's actually called Exilence Next. So what you can use this program for is you can select certain tabs. So you go to the settings, you go to certain tabs, and I have my currency tab, my fragment tab down here, and then my dump tab, and then you can save the profile, and then you can take a snapshot, and then you can use this in your dump tab, you can use this in your main tab, you can use this in your fragment tab, and this will pretty much calculate exactly what the total amount of currency is in your tab. So you can see here I have 276x. Now here you can sort by the total value, so you can know exactly what is all the value inside of your tabs. Now one thing you can do is you can go into the settings and you can put the minimum price threshold. So say you don't want to sell anything below 5 chaos, then that you can do it like this, and then when you go back to it, your net worth, you can see that you can take the snapshot again. Let's see if it changes. At 5C threshold, mine doesn't really change that much, but basically you can see you have 276x. But the main thing nice about this is that this can show you what exactly is in your tabs that cost so much. So right now I have a bunch of currency in chaos orbs. I have 933 awakened sextons I should probably sell. I have a lot of alts I can sell. Awakeners orb, 3 of them just sitting there. Some fusing, some maven orbs. And you can also see that you have 100. I have 148 stacked decks right here. So pretty much you can just go through everything. You can see if you have anything to sell. And sometimes you might find that you have a lot more currency than you think. A lot of beginners, when they play the game, they have a bunch of stuff. They never sell it. They're pretty much hoarding it. So you can see here, these Esches Breachstones, I have 9 of them. They cost 11 chaos each. That's like 0.7x almost, right? And like Templar Emblem, 2 of them. That's 144 chaos total. So that's 1 Exalt there. I have a bunch of Jewelers, 4,000 of them. That's only 1 Exalt. Kind of sad. 4 Unato Breachstones, roughly a little over 1 Exalt. So you can see there's so much currency that you could possibly be having. Like, especially if you do Nemesis currency, a lot of people say they don't make enough money. And the fact of the matter is that a lot of the money is actually in small currencies like regrets, fusings, alts, sextants, prime sextants, annulment orbs perhaps, and it just adds up to be a significant margin. Because you can see I only have 129 exalts total, but it comes out to be around 276 exalts in this tab, and this is pretty much cut off of 5 chaos being the lowest. So this is not even really including all of the stuff that I could possibly be selling, but usually I don't really like to do any trades below 5C, so that's why I set the threshold. So all of this stuff will be pretty easily sellable. You can sell every single one of these items. You can see even on the second to last page, some of the threshold stuff is like 14 chaos. And there are maps that you can sell. So here they cost like 2 chaos each, but I didn't even include the map tab. So I highly recommend going through Exilence and putting it into your dump tab, your main currency tab, or fragment tab, or catalyst tab, or whatever you want to use, and just seeing what your net worth is. And you can easily liquidate this net worth to afford like Nemesis currency farming or a higher tier farming method with more investment. Now, a lot of people ask me like how well is the league doing and what I actually think of the league, and I finally checked Steam charts just to look at it, and I saw this number 53,066. Currently 25,000 players playing right now. We are currently around a little over 2.5 weeks into the league on Wednesday or Thursday, wherever you may be. So I just wanted to take a look at, is this league actually doing better than Expedition League? Because we all know how bad of a disaster Expedition League was. So Expedition League started with 116,000 players peak. And by the third week, but the 2.5 week, so July 23rd, so August 1st, so it would probably be somewhere around here. August 11th, Wednesday. So this is the second Wednesday or third Wednesday following the launch of the league. Or third Wednesday. So you can see here the players is 43,178, and I guess Twitch viewers is 72,090 total. So if you take the total player retention, which is the players divided by the peak players, we have 43,000 divided by 116,000. It's 37% roughly for the player retention. Now, fast forward to right now, and this is the league, Scourge League. We started off with 150,485 players, which is much higher than we've ever seen. And by the Wednesday today, we are down to 53,264, with Twitch viewers actually being lower than what it was in Expedition League. Now, I know a lot of this could be due to Lost Ark and other games like that people are playing, and New World still being pretty popular, and Call of Duty coming out, and so many other games coming out, right? So if you take this number and divide it, 53,000 divided by 116,000 or 140, wait, what was it the peak? 150,485, so 53,000 divided by 150,485, because this is how you calculate the player retention, which is the current amount of players playing divided by the peak, and you have 35% player retention. So right now, Scourge League has a player retention rate of 35.2% from the peak, while Expedition League actually had a 37% player retention league from the peak. So somehow Scourge League is actually doing worse than Expedition League in terms of player retention. However, the peak players is slightly higher from 43,000 to 53,000, which is pretty good. But you can see here the Twitch viewers have definitely suffered. I don't really know why it's so bad. Personally, for me, it's been pretty good, but it does seem like maybe a lot of people are burnt out of PoE, or they just don't enjoy the league mechanics so much, or they're just trying out different games with a lot of big launches coming out. Now, historically, this has always been a really bad league for PoE because a lot of games come out at this time. Like Blight League competed, I think, with WoW. And then last league, also, they were afraid of Cyberpunk or something, or last year. So this league has always been notoriously bad. So it's kind of expected, and we can always expect to see next league being a lot better. Every time I do look at the Reddit, I do see a lot of negativity. And I do think a lot of the negativity does surround the fact that
I cannot do
the cradling of items is so bad. I believe that cradling maps is pretty cool, but it does take a lot to get a good map. But the cradling of items is a little too punishing in my opinion, and I do think an easy way to fix the league perhaps would be to allow you to cradle the items to tier 10. Right now, the chances of getting a good cradle is so astronomically low that I feel like if you have 10 tiers of it, it will make it a lot more worthwhile to try to cradle items and make it more fun. And that's just my suggestion of doing it. But at this point in the league, judging based off their last patch they seem like to have given up on the league for now. But in the end, player retention is historically bad percentage-wise, and is barely better than Expedition total-wise. And it's actually worse than Expedition percentage-wise. But yeah. Anyhow, I do know that this does seem like a lot of complaining. However, I do enjoy the league. It is kind of sad seeing trade die down a little bit, and it's definitely died down. I can definitely tell when I try to go buy bulk scarabs or Deliriumorphs, there's just a lot less people playing. I can also tell there's a lot less people playing because people are starting to buy items in my like 10 chaos or 5 chaos dump tabs for items that's literally been in there since the start of the league, which means that everyone else's items is no longer up. So they can only find my items to buy. And that's usually a pretty big telltale sign for me. However, personally, I'm still enjoying the league. I am still trying to farm Mage Blood. Regardless of how high it goes, I will one day own a Mage Blood, or someone will give me a Mage Blood who quit. Not really, but let's see what it's at. It's only at 289x. I just can't farm enough currency to keep up with the price of Mage Blood. But thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you find more Mirrors, Exalts, and Mage Bloods than me, and see you next time. Bye.